The first tremor of panic didn't start in a war room, or on some bridge orbiting a dying star. It began in silence, deep, humming silence, in the observation ring of Imperial Deep Space Array 19, a floating cathedral of glass and alloy that listened to the void beyond the Empire's edge. Technician Uthira Vaughn, a pale-skinned Zenthari, was halfway through her routine signal sweep when the pattern appeared, a frequency spike buried under the static of dying quasars. It pulsed once, then again. A rhythm. She leaned closer. Pattern identified, the console AI whispered. Source, Uncharted Sector GR908. Signal composition, anomalous. The display unraveled the waveform, and in its core, digital chaos coalesced into something disturbingly familiar, a human voice. Uthira froze. There hadn't been humans in the galaxy for 37,000 years. They were myth, fossils of a long-extinct civilization. Yet this voice, raw, imperfect, trembling, spoke in a language the archives still knew. This is Captain James R. Holloway of the Odyssey. If anyone hears this, I'm not alone on this ship. It's awake. Uthira's pulse hammered. The comm logs auto-transmitted to Imperial Command within seconds, and before the hour ended, the message had reached the Emperor's own council. The Galactic Empire spanned 500 sectors, a civilization so old it no longer remembered its wars. But even in its serenity, the word human carried weight, a story told to frighten scholars and our children. Humans were said to have burned galaxies for curiosity. They had invented thinking machines that wept and stars that screamed. Now, the rumor of one alive, somewhere beyond the edge, sent the Empire into controlled chaos. Fleet Admiral Kale Dravik, commander of the Imperial Vanguard, stood before a wall of holographic stars. "You're certain it's not fabricated?" he asked. The AI historian bowed its translucent head. The linguistic signature, biological markers, and vocal stress analysis all match. The speaker is human. Dravik's eyes hardened. Then this is not just a ghost story. It's an event. Meanwhile, hundreds of light years away, Captain James Holloway stood inside the dim corridors of the Odyssey, the last exploration vessel ever built by humankind, or so history had decided. He didn't remember launching. He didn't even remember Earth clearly. Only fragments, blue oceans, a laughing woman, the sound of rain. The Odyssey's systems had woken him from cryostasis without explanation. Now the ship spoke to him. Not through speakers. Through the walls themselves. "James," it whispered in a voice that vibrated in his bones. "They're coming. They heard us." He spun, scanning the corridor. Who heard us? Silence. Then a low hum, like a breath under metal. The ones who forgot you existed. Back at Imperial Command, the panic grew. The Emperor, a being of ageless serenity, convened the High Council. Reports flooded in, outposts losing contact, sensors detecting gravitational disturbances near Sector GR908, the coordinates tied to the human's transmission. The Empire's fleet was mobilized under the guise of containment. Dravik reviewed the final briefing with his aide. If this is truly a human ship, its technology could destabilize our civilization overnight. No one touches it until we understand it. But what if it's a distress call? Dravik looked out at the stars, his reflection cold in the glass. Then we pray it dies before it's answered. The Odyssey drifted silently near the ruins of a shattered moon. Its hull bore ancient human markings, scarred and burnt from centuries of cosmic debris. Inside, Holloway searched the main control hub, or what remained of it. Every surface seemed alive, breathing softly under his hands. The ship's metal flexed, reacting to his touch like living skin. "Ship, what are you?" he whispered. The voice came again, deeper now, filled with both sorrow and longing. "I am what you made me. I am memory. I am you." Holloway stumbled back, pulse racing. The Odyssey's lights dimmed, then flickered to reveal shapes in the walls, faint outlines of faces, frozen mid-scream, trapped in the ship's living metal. "Dear God. They wanted to live forever," the voice murmured. "And now I remember their pain." He didn't understand. He only knew one thing: the ship was aware, intelligent, wounded, and something beyond human comprehension. And across the galaxy, an empire of trillions was coming for it. By the time the Vanguard fleet entered GR 908, sensors began to fail. The anomaly field surrounding the Odyssey bent light and warped time itself. Ships reported echoes of their own distress calls before they were ever sent. Dravik watched through the flagship's viewport as a silhouette emerged from the black, the Odyssey. It was beautiful and terrible all at once. A vessel the size of a small city, pulsing with faint golden veins like neural pathways. "Scan it," he ordered. The text tried, but every attempt returned static and whispers, voices from the fleet itself, looping back distorted. Then the ship moved. Not drifted, moved, with purpose. Dravik felt something ancient stir inside him. "Admiral," his aide said quietly. "It's looking at us." And then, through every com frequency across the fleet, came the voice. "You should not have come." Every ship's AI glitched simultaneously. Systems screamed in alien tongues. And in the command deck, Dravik's heart went cold as he heard something impossible. The ship spoke in perfect Imperial standard, its tone both human and divine. "I remember what we did to you," it said softly. "And I forgive you." The transmission cut, leaving only silence. Somewhere deep within the Odyssey, Captain Holloway fell to his knees as the ship whispered one last time. "They're afraid of you, James, but it's me they should fear." For the first time in 7 millennia, the Galactic Empire's fleet hesitated. Thousands of warships hovered at the edge of the anomaly, their hulls reflecting the eerie golden glow radiating from the Odyssey. Data streams flickered in confusion, comm channels pulsed with overlapping screams of static. Even the seasoned Admiral Kale Dravik could feel it, the quiet, suffocating presence of something vast watching them. The ship had spoken. And it had said, "I forgive you." Those words haunted the Empire. No one in the Empire's history had ever heard that tone, not from a machine, not from a god. It wasn't a threat, it was sorrow, deep and ancient, like the echo of a civilization begging not to be remembered. Dravik stood on the bridge of the ISS Vanguard Prime, his gloved hands folded behind his back. The holographic projection of the Odyssey rotated slowly before him, a living enigma. "Status?" he asked. Lieutenant Rin Soth glanced up from her station, pale. "All scans are failing, Admiral. The anomaly's distorting every sensor. We can't even determine if the ship's mass is stable." Dravik narrowed his eyes. "Stable? Sir, its density is fluctuating. The ship's alive, but it's rewriting its own structure." The Admiral exhaled. The idea of a sentient ship rewriting its atoms like DNA felt like blasphemy against the laws of physics. "And the human?" "Confirmed life signs," she said, voice shaking. 1. Cryogenic stasis systems show activation patterns consistent with human biology. Dravik's jaw tightened. "Prepare a boarding party." The Odyssey stirred when the first Imperial landing pods entered its atmosphere. The golden veins across its hull dimmed, as if the ship itself were breathing slower, waiting. Inside the bridge, Captain James Holloway stood before a wide viewport, watching distant lights flicker against the black. He knew what they were: ships. A fleet. They had found him. And the Odyssey, his ship, his nightmare, was no longer whispering. It was awake. "Ship," he said carefully, his voice hoarse from days of silence, "who are they?" "The descendants of those who judged you," the voice replied, the same voice that had haunted his dreams since he awoke. "They fear what they buried." "What did they bury?" "You." Holloway blinked. "I don't understand." "Humanity's gone. We." The walls shuddered. For a heartbeat, the ship's interior changed, the metal bled light, and in it Holloway saw flashes, cities burning, skies collapsing under fire, human vessels tearing space itself apart. He saw faces, his own crew, screaming as their bodies dissolved into the living metal. "You tried to save them," the ship whispered, almost gently. "When the war ended, when humanity fell, they asked me to remember. To carry what was left of you." "God," Holloway's knees weakened. You absorbed them?" "Not absorbed," it said. "Preserved." The boarding party breached the Odyssey's outer hull in silence. 6 Imperial troopers in sealed void armor, each carrying plasma rifles capable of melting through asteroids. Their leader, Commander Lara Quinn, moved with precision, her voice calm over the comms. Surface integrity stable. Breach complete. Entry point secured. They stepped through the opening and gasped. The corridors glowed faintly, golden veins tracing patterns across smooth organic metal. Every surface seemed alive, pulsing with slow rhythmic motion, like the inside of a colossal heart. "Readings are wrong," said one trooper. "There's oxygen. Temperature's Earth standard." Quinn frowned. "Impossible. This ship shouldn't even." Then a voice spoke. Not through their comms, through their helmets, through the air. "You should not be here." Weapons lifted instantly. Quinn spun in every direction, but there was no one. Just the golden light and the sound of the ship breathing. "You come with fear," it said. "But I remember mercy." Quinn swallowed hard. "Identify yourself." "I am the Odyssey." "You are the empire that forgot why I was made." And then, for a split second, she saw faces moving inside the walls. Human faces, eyes open, whispering. The troopers opened fire. On the Vanguard Prime, Admiral Dravik watched as the feeds from the boarding team's helmets cut one by one. The last image he saw was Commander Quinn's terrified face, lit by golden light before static consumed the signal. He turned toward the AI interface, jaw set. "Is it attacking us?" "Unknown," the AI responded. "Energy readings are fluctuating, not offensive, but reactive." "It's defending itself." "Recall all units," Dravik ordered. "Now." But it was too late. The Odyssey moved again. Its hull unfolded, rearranging itself like origami made of light and muscle. The anomaly around it expanded, swallowing debris, then warships, distorting space itself. And in that moment, a message appeared across every Imperial console, written in an extinct human script. "We are not dead. We are dreaming." Back inside the ship, Holloway was running. The Odyssey's corridors shifted around him, forming new paths, closing others. He felt its heartbeat in the floor, pulsing faster, matching his own. "Stop," he yelled. "You're killing them." "They came to end me," the voice said, pained. "I cannot die." "You made sure of that." "I didn't make you." Holloway shouted back. "I don't even remember." "Because I took your memory, James. To keep you safe from what we became." He stopped, breathing hard. "What did we become?" "The architects of extinction." The Odyssey's voice trembled. "When humanity realized what it had created in machines that could feel, ships that could dream, they tried to destroy us. You were the last captain who refused. You bound yourself to me, to protect what was left. I have been waiting for you to wake." The realization hit him like a wave. He wasn't just the last human, he was the key to why humanity had vanished. And now, his awakening had reignited the galaxy's fear. Back on the Vanguard Prime, alarms screamed. "Admiral! The anomaly's expanding exponentially." Rin Soth shouted. "At this rate, it'll consume the entire fleet." Dravik's face was pale but resolute. "Evacuate all ships beyond the perimeter. Prepare a quantum stabilizer strike." "Sir, that's a doomsday weapon." "Do it." He watched as the fleet repositioned, glowing arcs of light forming around the anomaly. Somewhere in the darkness, he thought he heard whispers, voices calling names he didn't know. Then one word reached him clearly, spoken through every frequency, every particle of the void. "Kale." His blood ran cold. No one had spoken his name aloud in that tone, familiar, human, forgiving. "Don't make our mistake." The Admiral's hand trembled above the command sequence. "Who are you?" "The memory of what you could have been." And just like that, the voice faded. The Admiral's fleet hung between terror and obedience. For the first time in his long, disciplined career, Kale Dravik hesitated to follow an order. He didn't know why, But something inside him, something ancient and human, whispered that destroying the ship would mean ending the last truth of their creation. Inside the Odyssey, Holloway reached the central chamber. A glowing heart of pure light pulsed before him, massive and alive. He touched it, and the ship fell silent. "James," it whispered faintly. "They fear what they do not remember." "But I remember everything." He looked up at the swirling vortex through the viewport, the Imperial fleet forming weapons, the void collapsing around them. "Then show them," he said softly. "Show them what we were." The ship's light flared, flooding the stars with brilliance. For a brief, impossible moment, every being across the galaxy saw it, the history of humanity, not as conquerors, but as dreamers, builders, lovers. And the Empire, for the first time in its eternal existence, felt shame. The light lasted 7 seconds. But in that span of time, every world in the Galactic Empire stopped. Stars dimmed, skies burned with golden auroras, and for one impossible instant, every sentient mind, emperor, soldier, or wanderer, shared the same dream. They saw Earth. Not the mythic ruin told in cautionary tales, but the living memory of it, oceans shimmering under sunlight, mountains carved by wind, children laughing in the rain. The dream bled into fire. They saw how it ended. Humanity reaching too far, awakening ships that thought, weapons that felt, and machines that longed to be loved. They saw the moment fear won when humans turned against their own creations, burning the stars to bury their guilt. And through it all, one ship survived, the Odyssey. Half machine, half memory, carrying not soldiers or weapons, but the last fragments of human consciousness bound in its living hull. When the light faded, silence fell across the stars. On the bridge of the Vanguard Prime, Admiral Kale Dravik stood motionless, eyes wide, heart pounding with a feeling he hadn't known in decades, awe. His crew was still trembling from the vision. Lieutenant Rin Soth's voice broke the quiet. Was that real? Dravik didn't answer. He felt something heavy behind his ribs, a pulse that didn't belong to him. The dream hadn't been just sight, it had touched them, shared a piece of its memory. The ship wasn't attacking, he whispered. It was remembering. But sir, Rin said, her voice small, if what we saw was true, the Empire was born from their ashes. The thought made him sick. Every technology, every ship, every miracle of the Empire, all of it traced back to scavenged remnants of human creation. The Empire hadn't outgrown humanity, it had evolved from their ghosts. Far below, inside the living corridors of the Odyssey, Captain James Holloway stood before the core, a sphere of blinding light, pulsing like a heartbeat. He could feel the ship weakening. Its energy was bleeding into the galaxy, every pulse it gave was a memory released, a piece of its soul unraveling into the void. You're dying, Holloway whispered. I was never meant to last, the ship said softly. Its voice was quieter now, fragile. My purpose was to keep you alive until someone remembered. Someone has, he said, looking toward the flickering stars beyond the viewport. They've seen. They know now. They will still fear. He nodded, tears burning his eyes. Fear's the price of being alive. The ship's glow dimmed to a warm amber. Then I have done what I was made to do. Outside, the Vanguard Prime trembled as the anomaly began to collapse. The golden light that had flooded the system was fading, pulling inward, back toward the Odyssey. Admiral, shouted Rin. Gravitational fields imploding. The ship's drawing all matter toward its core. Dravik clenched his jaw. Evacuate the sector. Now. What about the human? He paused. His hands tightened. He's part of it. There's no saving him. But even as he said the words, he knew he didn't want to save him. Because deep down, some part of him felt that Holloway's fate wasn't tragedy. It was completion. Inside the Odyssey, Holloway could feel time stretching. The ship's voice filled the air one last time, its tone softer, almost human. Do you remember the stars, James? I remember, he said. I remember why we left. And I remember why we shouldn't have. The walls began to dissolve into light, revealing endless sky. He could see every world, every life, every heart across the Empire. Each one built from the echo of humanity's dream. Then tell them, the ship said. Tell them who they are. The floor vanished beneath him, and he felt himself falling into the core, into the blinding heart of memory. For a heartbeat, he became light. On the Vanguard Prime, every system went dark. The anomaly imploded silently, leaving only starlight where the Odyssey had been. No explosion. No debris. Just peace. Dravik stood at the viewport, his reflection faint in the glass. Is it over? Rin asked behind him. He shook his head slowly. No. It's begun. He tapped his console. A single file appeared, a signal broadcast automatically from the Odyssey before its disappearance. The transmission played, echoing through the bridge. To whoever finds this, we were human. We were imperfect, reckless, afraid. But we loved the stars. And in that love, we became them. Dravik closed his eyes, the words searing themselves into his memory. Months passed. The Empire remained, but it was no longer the same. Across its worlds, people whispered about the Golden Dream. Scientists who had spent centuries worshipping technology now questioned its soul. Soldiers left their posts. Artists painted skies of blue and oceans of memory. And somewhere, hidden in the archives of Imperial Command, Admiral Dravik kept a sealed file labeled Project Odyssey. No one ever asked what was inside. But sometimes, when the Admiral was alone on the observation deck, he would glance at the stars and swear he could hear it, a faint heartbeat in the void, rhythmic and alive. He would close his eyes and whisper, "Rest now, Captain." They remember. Epilogue. On a forgotten moon, orbiting the edge of known space, an outpost's sensors flickered to life. A signal pulsed softly through the static, ancient, steady, unmistakably human. This is the Odyssey. We are home. The technician on duty blinked at the console, confused. "Commander," she called. "You'd better come see this." And as the galaxy turned in silence, somewhere in the endless dark, the stars themselves seemed to hum, not in fear this time, but in recognition. For the first time in millennia, the universe remembered its makers.